Hey guys, so we're starting in just a second. In the meantime, why don't you let us know where you're coming from and also maybe tell us how long have you been using Asana? Remember, with every question you answer or every interaction, you rack up points. So yeah, we encourage you to participate. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tasby. All right. So, welcome back, everyone, to our session number 2. Before we kick this one off, I want to just say thank you for all of you being here. If you're hearing my voice live, fantastic. If you are coming in for the first time and this is your first session, you likely missed our kickoff and our panel discussion this morning with Joshua Zirkle, Bastien Sebman, Carrie Hoffman, and Nadia Martinez. We had a great discussion, but unfortunately, the app that we're using here, Airtable, there were some technical difficulties, and we've been told that they've been since resolved, but not to worry. The discussion was recorded this morning, and so you'll get access to that by the end of the day. And so thanks for sticking around. Thanks for coming back. We got lots of emails, lots of support is out there. And so again, I wanted to apologize, but thank you for being here. And we've got a great program. We still got lots of awesome sessions. You'll be hearing from the speakers that were on the panel this morning as well in their sessions later today. And so I'm excited to kick this one off. And so just as a quick reminder to you, we do have a leaderboard running. And so let's just take a quick look here. We have Jacob, who's currently in the lead, and then we have Maria and Maria, two Marias back to back, fighting for the second and third place. And so the way that you engage with the session today, every time you raise a hand, answer a question, share an emoji, you get points as well. And then at the end of the day, we're going to be giving away prizes, which include Asana templates like a onboarding template, a social media calendar template, and then a 60-minute consultation with myself. And so a quick tip to you, if you do go and visit our sponsors page and go to one of the sponsor links, you will get just 100 points just for doing that. So an easy way to pull ahead. When it comes to how you can participate today as well, in your right-hand side, you've got a chat screen where you can just kind of, share. I'd love to hear where people are from today, what you're looking to get out of this session, and what your experience with Asana is like. So just share where you're signing in from today. And then there is a Q&A section. So if you have a question that is specific to something that I'm going to be sharing or one of our speakers will be sharing later, put it in the Q&A, because it's likely that there is someone else who has the same question. And then you can upvote those questions as well. And you'll also get points for doing that. If at any point there is any technical difficulties, you can't hear, or something's up with the screen, there is a purple question mark in the bottom right, and the AirMeet team will be happy to help you resolve that technical issue. But we've been told that if you are having browser issues, make sure you're using Chrome and just give it a quick refresh. And that usually resolves a lot of the most common issues. But I'm excited today to be chatting about this topic. And so I'm going to be asking for some interaction. So if you have questions, feel free to ask those in the Q&A. And then we have moderators in the chat as well that will be making me aware of those questions, because I'm going to be sharing my screen. I'm not going to be seeing a lot of you and your questions come through. So we'll be looking for our team. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we will get things going. There we go. So our topic for today is strategic planning for modern enterprises, understanding goals and milestones inside of Asana. And I'm actually going to start us off with this quote that I'm going to put on screen here for a second. Why don't you take a look at it, absorb it. And so it says, for every 1% you are off course, you will end up being 1 mile off course after traveling 60 miles. And so what this means is that if you have a starting point and a destination, if you are off course even by 1 degree, okay, after traveling 1 mile in that wrong direction, you'll be 60 miles away from your original destination. And so this is known as the 1 in 60 rule. And in this case, it relates to the aviation industry. This is something that pilots have come to know and understand as a best practice, and they follow this when they are setting their instruments, setting their marks, doing their flight paths, and understanding, how they're going to get all their passengers safely to where they need to go. And so if we think about it and take a bit of a different spin on this, right? The same can be true in business, in the companies that we work for, and getting just even 1 degree off course at the start of a product launch or a campaign, or at the end of a really transformative performance review, even getting 1 degree off course, can result in, becoming further off course the longer you continue to go in that direction. And so it's often in my experience that not only are our goals off course when I take a look at a lot of the Asana spaces that we work through, but in many cases, there are no goals at all, or goals are not even made available to teams that are being asked to achieve these goals. So they don't really know what's being asked of them. And then when the goals are brought up, there's no way for them to actually visualize them, to connect with them, because goals more or less are siloed in many cases. And so there are these really lofty expectations placed on teams, but the numbers and what is being asked doesn't match the different changing priorities. And so what I've found is that it's easy to get 1 degree off course. I'm sure we can all relate to that. And one of those ways is, like I said, simply not setting your goals. And secondly, not making them available to your team in a tool like Asana. And so today I'm going to be showing you what that looks like. And so for those who aren't familiar, with the feature, Asana Goals is, among other things, but in my opinion, I feel the best way to really align your teams inside of Asana. And so it's likely that if you're on the free plan or the premium plan, you either handle your goal tracking outside of Asana, or you found a workaround with the projects and milestones. And so my goal today is to show you what bringing your goal tracking and monitoring into Asana can look like, how you can connect it to the projects and milestones, and how you can really track and measure success. And so today we'll be talking through all of that, how you can get Asana set up to monitor and assign ownership of those goals. Because this is what I often see. I'll come in and we're connecting with the team, and the leadership says we've got to get our strategic goals inside of Asana, because we need to communicate to our team where we're going. Or it's the opposite, where I have a manager or director saying we want a way for the people that are actually doing the work day to day to understand what's expected of them, and to know how they relate and fit into and contribute to those goals, because the connection is broken. And so this is what happens to teams, right? They get frustrated. They lose sight of, what is seen to be important by the company. They often will spend their time on the wrong types of projects. We have all heard of that duplicate work, right? Teams become siloed, like I mentioned earlier. Work is duplicated, resources are drained, and they're getting burned out and trying to follow the rhythms of the always moving goalposts. And right, what happens is, 4 things happen. This is what I call the F4 paradox. They're flying blind. They are 2, frustrated. 3, they're failing. And 4, they're getting fired. And if you're a director or a VP or a manager or someone in the C-suite, then understand this: it is not their fault that they're missing the mark. Years ago, I used to work for a well-known Canadian fitness facility, and one of the performance review prompts for when I would review my staff was, I have been given all the tools to do my job well. And the way that this worked is, if this card was selected, it was either a win for me, something that I was doing well for my team, or it was a rock, something that there was a gap in, or something that I was missing or not providing to them. And so when it came to it, this was always a reflection of me, right? Their manager, that I meant to provide it. I was trying to do my best, but I didn't set them up with the right tools, the right processes. I didn't communicate the relevant goals, and I didn't provide the right tools for them to do their jobs. So it's really like more or less a gut check. And so I know if you're here, you probably know this, but I just wanted to kind of identify what that problem is. These are a lot of the common things I hear, and I want to show you today how to get around that so you can fully align your teams and connect your strategic goals at a company level to the day-to-day work and hands and feet that really make our goals happen. And so Asana, and we're going to get into a demo here shortly, but Asana is really built around a concept called the pyramid of clarity. Right, you've probably heard this, you've seen this many times, and it starts out by starting at the bottom, from the individual tasks, through to the projects and the different processes, all the way up to the company goals. And then really the goal here is to visualize and show everyone how everything in Asana contributes to fulfilling the company mission. So like I said, it starts at the bottom. You've got your tasks, projects, and processes. You've got your portfolio, your objectives, and your mission. And then on the right side, you can see who's generally responsible for all those areas within Asana. So we're here today. We're all Asana enthusiasts. We're trying to understand the tool better. We've chosen to use it. And I love Asana and what it can do for us, but I disagree with this approach, right? I've always felt, and the way that I've always explained it is the exact opposite, right? Where I believe that it should be a top-down approach, where we start at the top with the executives, bringing together what the mission is for the company, right? Why do we exist? Why are we here? Why does all this matter? Because for me, an individual contributor, I want to know why this all matters, why I need to be doing these things, what's expected of me, and how I'm going to be evaluated on my performance. So we've got to be marching to the same drum and going in the same direction. Because if we don't follow this principle, it's easy to get that 1 degree off course. And 1 degree is not even that bad in the grand scheme of things. A lot of times we are 3, 4, 5 degrees off course, and we're pulling in opposite directions. And we hear it all the time. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Our teams aren't aligned, and we don't have any standards around how we work or understand why we work. And so I believe we should have the mission and vision at the top of this pyramid, and then we work down into establishing those objectives, our goals, our OKRs, our big rocks, whatever you want to call them, whatever methodologies you follow. And that is the responsibility of the executives and the management. And then we get down into the portfolios, which at a high level tracks the status of all of the related projects that we need to complete to realize our goals. Then we get into the projects and processes and the tasks and milestones within those projects that need to be checked off and completed by a certain time, by a certain person, so that we can realize our goals. So rather than going bottom up, I believe this should be a top-down approach where we just look in the mirror as leaders and we say, all right, what can I do for my team? How can I make this clearer for them? And so for today, the use case we're going to follow for our demo is this one. And I'm going to build this out for you kind of as we go. So at the top, we've got this Asana demo space that we've filled in here, and we've got 3 pillars. The first one is revenue. We're looking to improve our gross profit margin. And then the second is culture, looking to improve our client and team happiness. And then the third is marketing. We're looking to grow our email subscriber list. And so looking at the revenue goal first, I'm just going to show you what this will look like. So the first one, we have our first key result or our first sub goal. Again, depending on your methodology, your first rock, if you're an EOS fan, is revenue increase prices by 10%. Right? We haven't set a time frame here. We'll do that all inside of Asana. Then the next is to reduce costs by 5%, and then the third is to increase sales volume, aka sell more. Right? That's always the answer. Just sell more. We can solve all of our problems that way. And then the next we go to is the culture portion. And then our 3 sub goals or key results are to roll out a new training and development platform, And then we look at culture. Number 2 is to create a new recognition and appreciation program. And number 3 is to improve transparency about the company and its performance. And then the last one here is marketing. So we'll be looking to integrate all email, sign up CTAs into our marketing, create a free downloadable resource, PDF. And then the third is to approve our social media engagement by 10%. And so you'll notice that there are 3 others that stem from this. I won't only be showing you how to set up goals, but I'll be talking about the differences between goals, sub goals, and then projects and how they relate, and then the different ways to track and measure them. So if we double click into this key result here, we're going to see the projects that we're going to connect this to and what that looks like when we get down to the project and task level as well. And then I'm also going to be showing you how to update the status to keep everyone on your team informed as to what's going on. And so we'll be looking at adding in a social media audit project, a social media strategy, and then a paid ad campaign survey as well. So let's just quickly define what goals are, right? So simply put, goals connect the work in Asana to its purpose, right? So we're basically saying we've got the purpose at the top, that's our mission and our vision, and then the work at the bottom is connecting it to that so that we can cascade down the pyramid. Right. So it keeps all of our company and teams aligned. It keeps them engaged and agile when we need to be as well. And so the important point here is that with goals, your company goals, work and the work like milestones and projects and portfolios are all connected in the same place. I think that's the most important thing. I've had cases working with clients in the past where we have all of the work, all of the people, all of the resources around the work inside of Asana. Great. But we have the goals and the measurements and the updates outside in another tool. It's never made sense to me. I've always thought, why don't we just consolidate everything? Why don't we just put it in one place so that everyone can see it? Why are we keeping goals separate? And why do only certain people get to see those goals? What about transparency? And so I believe that having goals inside of Asana allows us to break down those silos and remove those blockers and create more transparency, which I think people are really, asking for and really want. And so let's go over what sub goals look like, because there's different ways that you can measure the progress of goals inside of Asana. And so again, we got a bit of theory here. We're going to get into the demo in a second. But if you were to choose sub goals as an option, right, or as your progress source, I should say, you could choose one of 3 measurements. You have, you can measure by percentage, you can measure by numeric total, or you can measure by currency as well. And so the percentage measurement will essentially be the average of the sub goals. So the more sub goals we have, we'll create a measurement for those, and then it will basically scale up to a larger average, whereas the numeric and the currency measurements will be a sum of all of the sub goals. So again, you'll set dollar values or numeric values, and then you'll be adding those up, and that's how you'll realize the growth or the progress, I should say, on your parent goal. And then we have our projects and how they're defined. So if you choose projects as your
Sorry to interrupt,
source,
Marquis, but there's a question kind of related to what you were talking about.
Sure.
Maybe you want to share a little bit more on that?
Sure. What was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, I shared it here on the screen. So it basically asks about the highest level company goals aren't set as SMART goals or with measurable metrics like the 4D method. The ones in your top level example are a bit more vague, but the sub goals get more specific. So if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say that like clarity is really the goal here. And I apologize, everyone. I can't actually see the comments just now. But Yeah, the clearer you can be in those top level goals is keep it really simple, keep it straightforward. You don't want to confuse people, right? I would make it really actionable, really short snippets. And then, yes, it's in those sub goals where you can expand upon that. And I'll show you the differences as well. The examples I'm giving are very broad, yes. But as you drill down into the sub goals, you can create a bit more clarity there. You can add more descriptive language, and then you can obviously update the timeframes and have conversations in those sub goals as well. And then link them to related projects. So yeah, there's definitely no shortages to what you can do from a goals perspective. Great question, or great point there. Any other questions there, Tasby?
No, we're good.
We're all good. Okay, thanks so much. All right, so under the projects, if you were to choose project as your progress source, and I'll go over all of this again once we get into Asana, you can measure success using either milestones complete or tasks complete. And so that's where tying in those projects really will help us, because the day-to-day tasks that are required will be our measurement for how we're doing against that goal. And so the overall goals progress will be determined using the average of the percentage of milestones or tasks completed inside of each project. So everything is connected, as you'll see here shortly. And so we're going to get into the demo here. I'm going to switch over to my other screen, and then we'll get going in the demo here. Make sure I have the right one. There we go. Okay, so I've got just our quick agenda here. We've gone over a little bit of this already, but I'm just going to kind of show you around to again show you what we're working with here. So in our demo today, I'm going to review the projects so you can see what they look like. We're going to do an overview of the goals. Again, I'm going to be adding in some goals so you can see what they look like. We'll go through the goal status updates procedures, and then we'll look at portfolios and project management as well, so you can understand what that looks like. But here we have 3 projects. So in the project section under the marketing pillar, you saw that there were 3 initiatives that we would need to complete to realize our top level marketing goal. And so here's a social media audit. It's really basic. We've got familiar sections. We've got due dates, assignees, some estimated time here as well, which you'll see a little bit later is important. And then we have some completed tasks in all of them. And there are also, let me just double check here. There are also some milestones as well, so you can kind of see what that looks like. Maybe we'll just convert a few more of these to milestones, like so. Perfect. All right, so let's get back to our agenda and let's go over the goals themselves. So within this, what I'm going to be doing is taking our goals here and kind of pasting them in. But let's go to the goals module for a second. Perfect. So in the interest of time, I've already gone in, I've put in our revenue goals here and our sub goals, connected those, and I put in our culture goals already as well. There have been no status updates or no updates to the progress on these goals. We're going to save all of that for right now. So let's go in. We're going to create our first top level goal here. So let me just run through the dashboard in case this is the very first time you're seeing it. You have the opportunity to measure company goals at the top level. So anyone who is a member of your organization, so they have the same domain that you share for your Asana instance, they will have access to this so long as it's a public goal. There are private goals, but for things like this, we're talking again about transparency. Then you can also create team-specific goals. So if the marketing team has certain initiatives or the IT team has certain initiatives, and we're all working together on this large goal, we can show how the teams will work together to help us realize our larger goals. And then if at any point you become the owner of a goal, there's a tab here as well where you can see all of the goals that you are the owner of and that you have the responsibility of keeping everyone updated and ultimately are accountable for the success or the failure of that goal as well. So there's a few different ways that we can do this. And so if you recall the pyramid of clarity, I mentioned that we start at the top. This is the top. We're at the top of the pyramid right now. So here we have our mission. This one is really simple: to leave the planet in better shape than we found it, right? Isn't it so beautiful? And then we have our company goals here. We can scroll through this to see the different time periods as well that we can select for and review what we've done in the past, and we can look ahead as well to plan for the future as well. And so let's go in. I'm just going to click the plus. I'm going to add a new goal and paste in our high level goal. So grow our email subscriber list. The time period is very important for this. And so right now, this one is set to July 1st. If you are an admin, you can go into the admin console and change your fiscal year for like these purposes. And so if it is standard and you need to, move it a little bit, you can change those periods as well. But in this case, we're running July to June. And so this is something that we want to realize in the second half of the year. This is a public goal, and then we can add different members here as well. So we might want to add in people from our team so that they can also see this. If this was a private goal, this would be the best way to give them access. And so it's important that guests cannot have access to these spaces. You wouldn't want them to. They have to have a domain email. And so again, we have two ways that we can update this. We can do it manually or automatic. So if we go manual, again, the ways you can measure progress are by percentage, by number that you can make up and you can put in a current value, or you can do currency. So if we have financial goals we want to realize, you can set your financial targets here, right? And then we can set where we currently are at. And so in this case, let me just look at automatic again. Automatic was released probably in the last couple of years now, but beforehand we had to come in and we were reminded to update our goal status periodically, whether it's weekly or monthly or quarterly. And so automatic allows us to, again, roll up all of the results from either your sub goals and the completion or progress within those sub goals, or your projects. So again, the tasks and milestones that are completed as well. So I'm going to just tie this in and select sub goals here. And the measurement in this case is simply going to be a percentage. And I'm going to save that goal. Now you'll see once we dive into the goal, there's quite a bit more that you can do. And so this is where you can add a bit more context, and you can add clarity, for the people that will be reviewing these goals as well. The status update, which I'll do last according to our agenda. We have our owner here. We can see which team is accountable for this, and we can always change that. So right now the company is accountable, System Builder Academy, or we can change it to the team that would be responsible for bringing this across the line. Again, you can change your time period. You can connect it to another goal. We can have discussions in here and mention people like we would inside of our tasks and projects. And then we can also connect our related work, which is where we can tie it to the projects that we would be working in, but aren't directly related to the sub goal. And then you can add your description information here. So why is this goal important? What will happen when we get there? What this initiative is. And this is how you just provide more context for the people that would just be glancing at this or looking to understand, again, how does my role fit into all of this? So I'm going to create our first sub goal here. And we can go and create a new goal, but I already have it named. So I'm just going to go and copy and paste it from our agenda. To create that. Same thing here, just like the top level goals, we can change the parameters. So integrate email sign up CTAs into our marketing. So by the end of Q3, we want this goal to be realized. And actually, maybe I will go and change the time period. Just make it a little bit easier. There we go. Refresh here. All right, let's go again. There we go. So let's go back a little bit, and we're in this time frame now. So there we go. So we want to have this goal realized by the end of Q3. By the end of Q3, there we go. So by the end of September, stop switching on me. There we go. By the end of September. And then again, we can add our different members. We can see it's connected to that parent goal. And in this case, we want to have an automatic update. So again, the more we drill down into this, the more opportunity there is to report on this. So integrate email sign up CTA into our marketing. This is more or less like, is it done or is it not? So we could choose, sub goals could be, create the email CTAs, right? It could be send them away for approval, depending on what your approval process looks like and how you create content, I guess, in this use case, right, would determine whether we connect this to sub goals that need to be shared and then thought through and then connected to projects, or we know that this is just something we can connect to a project here. And then in this case, task completed. Because if we imagine the creation of a project like this, there would be certain things we need to do, like design the art for the CTA, send the art to the developer, get the developer to code it, right? All of those are steps and stages. And so whatever your planning ends up looking like, you really have to make those decisions as you go about it. But I'm just going to keep it at sub goals for right now, and I'm going to save that goal. And then we're going to add in our other goals as well. So I'm going to go back up to our top line, and now we can see they're starting to add in there. So let's just add these other ones in quickly here. Create a free downloadable resource PDF. We're going to add another sub goal. Same thing. I'm going to do automatic again, sub goals and percentage. I'm going to go back up, and then we're going to add in one more. There we go. And in this case, we're going to go automatic. Instead of sub goals, we're going to choose those projects, and we're going to select tasks complete. Okay. Now in this case, we can add in all those projects that we've already created, right? So we have our social media audit here. We've got our strategy, and then we've got our survey here as well. So let's connect these goals to our projects. So we're going to go audit, pull that one in there. There we go. And then we are going to go, what's the next one? This is our strategy. Great. And then we have our survey here. So you can see really quickly what the automatic rollup does, right? We're at 44% of this overall goal of increasing our social media strategy engagement, by 10%. So we would assume that at the end of this survey, we would have asked people online what they want to see, why they're here, why they're engaging with us. And so that would involve creating copy, getting that copy approved, creating images, creating what the survey looks like, going through the many revisions that survey would need to go through so that we're asking the right questions. And so that would be handled inside of a project. And so that's why all of this is really important, because everything that's happening, in the day-to-day is all drilling up. And again, if we had chosen that there were key milestones like launch ad campaign that were more important for us to be tracking progress, we would have selected that milestone option. So what's nice about this way of doing things and adding the projects is you can then also add sub goals to this as well that are related to the work that you're doing here. And so that's one way that we can do it. I'm going to back out for just a second because I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk through some of the other ones here. So in this case, we have chosen, let's just see, we can edit our progress as we go along. We've chosen an automatic roll up here. We have our sub goals and our percentage. So again, create a free downloadable resource. Let's just change this goal slightly just for this quick example. I should say, and make $5,000. I don't know why you would do that, but maybe you've created this book, this resource, and you want to make some money off of it. So I'm just going to go and update this really quickly. We're going to change it to manual. Okay. And then rather than percentage, we're now going to set our currency. So I just want to show you the flexibility of this. So right now we have $0. We haven't made any money from this. Our target is that 5,000 mark, right? And then you have the ability as the owner of this goal to weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly get a notification to update your goals. And so what will happen is if you do it weekly or bi-weekly, basically the Thursday before the Friday, because it's typically every Friday you'll get this task due, you'll get a notification, a task added to your My Task as a reminder to update the progress on that goal as well. So then let's go in and we're going to save that there. Okay. So let's say now I have, as the owner, have been tasked with making sure that we create this downloadable, PDF, and we make $5,000 from it. Right. I would have to come in now every 2 weeks, and I would have to say how we're doing. So now I can go and create the status update here. And so I can say, status update August 9th. I'll just leave that alone. And then we can update here how we're doing. This past 2 weeks, we sold $500 worth of, PDFs, let's call it. And so here we are, we're 10% of the way, right? And then we're able to now provide a summary of what happened. And so quick blurb to kind of let everyone know how we did in this last little bit. And we can choose to report on various other custom fields there as well. We can talk about what was accomplished, also what was blocked, and then what the next steps are so that we continue reaching towards that goal. And of course, like anything else in Asana, you can mention people and make sure that you can add in the recipients that you need to be informed of this update. And so there we go. That's what a status update would then look like. We have today, and you can see the history if you click into this, so that everyone is always aligned. And so if there are any changes to be made, we can always come in and we can make these changes. So let's do one more status update here. I want to get back to our social media engagement one here because I want to do a status update to show us what at risk or off track looks like. We're not doing so well. We've got lots of incomplete tasks here, right? We're falling behind, right? There we go. And so these are those moments where as long as you're monitoring it, as long as the owner is saying, okay, I'm going to come in and every single week, I'm going to be diligent about updating on the status of this work. This is how we can really course correct, right? We talked about that getting 1 degree off. This is how we can course correct. If we select that we are now at risk of, losing this goal or not achieving this goal, right? We can communicate that simply like so. And then everyone on our team is now notified of what's happening. And so this helps us to really break down the silos, break down the lack of communication, and make sure that everyone is being communicated the same message at the same time as it matters to them. Taz, we just want to check, are there any questions in the chat that we can answer here quickly?
There is one question by Liz. By Liz. I'm going to show it on stage. Can you see it on stage or?
I cannot see it, no.
No. Silsley. Yes, sorry about that. Okay, so her question is, I set this up in my system by creating a project with all the goals in it and then linked that project to a goal. Are there benefits to using sub-goals versus this project, which is tasks and milestones approach?
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good one. And like I mentioned in the kind of preamble, that a lot of people have found this workaround where you can set your projects and tasks, milestones as your goals, right? And then you're reporting on those things. I think where that becomes tricky now is you have this task that is a goal, right? That's not in a place where everyone, can see it unless you're sharing this as a public project. Um, Based on what I've just shown, and I'm going to show you in a minute here, we lose the ability to then report on the status of those individual goals, the individual sub goals as well, because we're not ever reporting on tasks, individual tasks or subtasks, right? We're often reporting on the parent goals and then the sub goals, and then the general project status. So I just feel that we can get more information out of it by using the goals feature. We can get a little bit more specific. We can change the time frames for those goals as well, versus looking at it on a project timeline. So yeah, there's absolutely workarounds for this, but I believe the most efficient and effective way is to use the goals functionality so that we can take advantage of all the features available to us to keep everyone aligned.
Awesome. There are a few more questions. There are, yeah, two more questions.
Okay.
Do you want to answer them now or maybe after you finish
I'll
your?
take another question and then I'll answer the other one later.
Okay, great. So the next question is by Nate McCord, and he said, "Are we able to connect the Google Sheet to update goals or sub goals?"
That's a good one. I can show you a way that you could potentially get that information to Google Sheet. Dave, if I'm understanding the question correctly, would it be taking background where your project is your goal tracking engine? But the other way you can do it is what I'm going to show you now inside of portfolios. So maybe this will answer your question. And then if it doesn't, please, yeah, let me know in the chat and then I can come back to it. But we did just look at goal status updates. So I'm going to look at portfolios and project management here for a second, and then we can answer some more questions. So if we get back to this side now, so I'm going to go back up to the top level of all of our goals. And now you can see how we're doing. Okay. So we're about 18% of the way to realizing this top level goal. We can see how our sub goals are now contributing to all of this. Right. And if we drill down into this, we can have conversations, share kudos around how everyone is doing. We've shown you what a status update looks like. There's one more key connector that I often see as a missing point here when it comes to goals is how are we doing at the project level? So if you recall now, we have all these projects. As you can see, we're off track, we're at risk. So how do you effectively course correct now is the question, right? We have this information. What can we actually do with it? So another feature that the business plan will unlock, and again, if you're on free or premium, you wouldn't have seen this, but it is the portfolios. So I'm going to create And if you're not familiar with this already, what's really nice about this is that you can have custom fields that are either independent of the custom fields inside of these projects or connected to the custom fields in these projects. And so if you recall, let's just go into one of their projects. We have this estimated time field here as well. And so Asana rolled out several months ago now, roll up custom fields at the portfolio level that now measures the sums or averages or however you're really setting this up, so that you can measure all this inside of your portfolio dashboard. Let's change the color. I don't like that one. Let's go yellow. There we go. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a custom field. We're going to add that field there. It's going to add it as a roll up. And so now we can see it's providing us with the available custom fields based on what's in the projects that we have here. So it's important that you have to add the estimated time at the project level first. Maybe you have an estimate of the time it takes to complete certain tasks within campaigns or launches, or you've gotten your team to estimate how much time they think it's going to take them, or you're using some kind of point system. Either way, you need a way to measure that effort. And so we're going to pull in our roll up. And so now what it's done is it's taken it's taken the sum of all of the estimated time within these projects as well. And so we can see the priority of these tasks. We can see the task progress and how we're doing individually. And what I do with my team, I'm just going to go a step further here, is every single week we're also tracking product type or deliverable type that customer has purchased. And then another field that we look at is the stage of the project that they're in. So are they currently onboarding? Are we reviewing their workflow submissions and their processes and creating their maps? Or are we documenting their standard operating procedures? Or are we working to build out their Asana? Are they in the training stage? So we can track all of that as well. But I'm going to go to my library, and I think I have it. Yes, I have our client sentiment, and then I'm going to pull in team happiness as well, because I think it's important that we think about the people, the real people that are day to day. And the example that I often will follow for myself is I think about the person, the real person on the other end. So if it comes to customer, like, how are they feeling? Is it unicorns and rainbows? Are they content? Are they frustrated, stressed out, unhappy? And typically if they're stressed out or unhappy, frustrated, like, there's something that we need to do. So this is another way that you can course correct. Because if you're getting a client that's frustrated, you know that as a leader, you need to hop in right away or speak to your project managers, your team leads, to understand what's going on. And then your team as well. If they're frustrated, why are they frustrated? Why is this project getting them to this point, right? And we can have meetings with our teams to understand what's going on and fix the issues. And as long as leaders, we're willing to listen and hear those things, right, we can course correct pretty quickly to make sure that we don't get that 1 degree off course. And so this is one of those ways that you can really measure at a high level what's happening. And then there's no limit to the different custom fields that you can add in here, right? These here kind of just snuck into Asana. There wasn't a formal release that I saw, but we can add in the duration of the project. We can look at the time remaining of that project as well, and then it adds these fields. So as long as you filled out the dates within this, you can pretty much see how much time is remaining and how long that project was supposed to span. And then the last thing that I'll do here is just, we already know, or you should know, that you can report on the status of an individual project, but you can also do that at the portfolio level as well. So now we can create a status update that says, right, how are we doing, right? We know that we're on track, at risk, or off track with our goals, but where do we stand with the projects that are helping us to realize those goals? And what are we going to do? What's blocked? What are those next steps? So we already know we can create a summary, right? We can add that in there. We can pull in the projects that are on track, off track, and I don't have any here because we haven't done any project status updates, right? But then you can get a view of the project health at a glance as well. And so it's by using tools like this to help get your teams back on the same page and moving in the same direction. So I'm going to post a status update for us. There we go. And like everything else, we can track along and we can comment and share kudos as we go along. There you are. My unicorn friend. Great. So that was status updates. Let's go to another question. We've got just about 10 minutes here. I'd love to answer some questions and see where the crowd wants to take this.
Awesome. So we have one last question from Alex Blazard, and they're asking, can you change the frequency of the My Task reminders to update the goals?
The frequency, yes, you can. So if we go back to the goals here, right, we can edit the progress settings and we can say if we want to be reminded weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly. So yes, those will pop up periodically. What you cannot do is change the date that those pop up. So again, if it's a weekly goal, I know this because there are things that I'm updating weekly versus every 2 weeks. The Thursday before that Friday goal, the task will pop up to say, hey, make sure you do this, and it's due tomorrow. That we cannot change, no. That will always be the same. When that task pops up, yes, then you can change the date, but frequency, you can change that here in any goal with no issues. Hope that fully answered the question. And Dave, earlier, I hope I answered your question through my portfolio demo there.
Actually, Nate has a follow-up from that question, from the question about Google Sheets, and he's asking, taking goal sheet info, example launch analytics to update Asana goals. So is that possible?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
So he was asking, are we able to connect Google Sheets to update goals or sub goals? And can we do, yeah, and if we could do that, to update Asana goals.
Thank you. So yeah, like I said, you can take your spreadsheets and update them as CSVs to create projects. What I was going to show you was this one here. So we've recorded all of our information. We've done our status updates now. We have our custom fields in here, and it's pulling in all the data that we need and is important to us. And so let's just do a status update really quickly. There, and then let's do one more. There we go. So we have some information, populating now. If we go to the kind of drop down here, we can now export this to a CSV or directly to Google Sheets. And so what this does, oh, no, go back. What this does now, building a report, it shouldn't take too long, is this gives us a nice view, pulls in all the different variables, and then from here, we can take the information and manipulate it however we want to. And so this creates some nice charts for us and allows us to play with the data a little bit more. And I should have done this at the time. Oh, there we go. Cool. So it gives us just an overview of what this kind of looks like. Gives us some charts as examples as what we can report on. And then as far as the data goes, it's all linked here as well. So we can see all the tasks, what's complete by project, what's at risk. And so it's giving us the status color as well. And then we can look at the custom fields. So this is one way that if you do need to report out to Google Sheets, you can obviously connect this with a third-party integrator to generate even more detailed reporting, because I didn't show you reporting in today's demo, but you can do a lot with this data. But the other way around, no, you wouldn't be able to do that from a goals perspective, unfortunately. So hope that answered at least that for you, Dave. Okay, any other questions?
Yep. One last question from Jacob. Okay. He's asking, is there any way to show the goals to a guest account, of course, but not like in a JPEG?
There isn't. I've been thinking about that for a long time, and I thought that it'd be nice if there was a way that you could do that, because oftentimes that there are external stakeholders that need to see specific information, but they don't want to get caught up in the day-to-day of Asana. And so best way to to provide that feedback is right here, right? Like the product team, I know this because I talk with them all the time. They read all of that feedback. And if there's an open feature on the roadmap, right, and you submit this, they will keep you informed as the feature is being developed. So right now, there's no way to share with guest accounts or external stakeholders outside of doing this and sharing a JPEG. And so what I do it's more for reporting, not for goals, because I do think that this is specific to your team internally. I have hope you can see this. I have a Chrome extension called Go Full Page right here. And so what it does is it creates a full page of whatever you want it to. And then you can download that as a PDF or as an image, and you can share that out. And the PDF actually looks kind of nice because if it's a long report, then it cuts the pages and, makes a nice little thing for you. So that's a workaround that, I kind of use right now for reports because they're pretty lengthy and there's no way to export a report either right now. But yeah, hope that helps. Great question, Jacob. Thank you. All right. Can I stop sharing? Are we all good? Or are there any other questions?
We're all good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the questions, everyone. I'm going to get back over so I can see your faces. There we go. So that concludes today's session. Again, if I can leave you with anything, it's just about creating that transparency. There are people that want to know what's going on, and it's your job as a leader to provide that information for them. And if they're confused or flustered or frustrated, it's likely not their fault. It's because it's a system that's not in place. It's because we haven't given them the tools that they need, and there isn't visibility into what they are actually accountable for. So take that away. We've got lots more today. Thank you so much for attending. Next, coming up, we have Mastering Productivity with Bastien Sebmen. He's a good friend of mine. He was on the panel this morning. And so hop over to that session if you want to take a few minutes here, get a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom. We'll see you in the next session. Thanks so much for being here today.